Welcome back to Frame by Frame with Photog Boss. I'm Cherry Stamball, your personal photography hype girl. Today we're diving into one of the most important topics that every photographer needs to understand, the exposure triangle. I know it sounds more intimidating than it is. I'm here to break it down. What the hell is the exposure triangle? It is made up of 3 settings that we covered earlier that control how light or how dark your photos turn out. Shutter speed, aperture, ISO. Shutter, aperture, ISO. Those 3 things work together like a team. You change one and the other needs to compensate to keep your photo properly exposed. So let's break down each one really quick. All right, first, shutter speed. That's the motion boss. All right, motion, shutter, motion. Shutter speed is how fast or how slow your shutter opens and closes. It controls how much light your sensor has, whether motion is frozen or blurred. 1/1000th of a second is a super fast shutter. It freezes action. It's great for sports, kids that never sit still. 1/200th is a general good setting. And 1/110th is like slow. Think like motion blur, like trails and dreamy waterfalls. That's the slowest. If you're shooting handheld, like as in not with a tripod, try not to go any slower than 1/125. I honestly don't go under 1/150 to avoid any unintentional blur. Keep it to like a reasonable level because most of us are not using tripods, especially when we're starting out. Number 2, aperture. We call this the bokeh queen. Bokeh, B-O-K-E-H. Aperture is how wide your lens opens up, and it affects 2 things. How much light comes in and how much of your image is in focus. If you have a landscape image and things, there's mountains and there's trails and there's streams and there's so many things that you want to capture in there. You want to have more like an f/16, f/12, maybe even f/9. If you're shooting real estate, you want like an f/5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because you want more things in focus. But if you're shooting one person, especially if it's like boudoir or 2 people and it's an engagement session or a wedding and it's those 2 or 3 people that are in one plane of field, you want more like an f/1.4, 1.8, 2.2, 2.8. And it depends on how low that your actual lens that's attached to your camera can go. And we'll cover that more later, but the aperture of your lens dictates how low you can go. Some people have those kit lenses that go to an aperture of only like 4.5 or 5.6, and that's not going to get you down to 2.8 no matter what you do. You have to have a lens that has the capability of going to those apertures that are in the 1.4, 1.8, 2.2 ranges. So the lower the F number, that f/1.8 is low, the wider the opening. That means more blur in the background. The higher the number is the smaller the opening or the more in focus your photo will be. So everything will be in focus. Another example, a 1.8 and f/1.8 is a dreamy, blurry background. It's perfect for portraits. An f/8 or an f/11, you're going to be more in focus. It's great for groups and landscapes. If you really want that creamy background that everybody loves, and you could say it's a fad, but it's always been in, you want to go wide on your aperture. So wide on your aperture just means more open, which means a lower number. Wide aperture, lower number. So number 3, ISO. This is your light booster. ISO is how sensitive your camera is to the light. If you have a low ISO, it's a cleaner image, less grain. High ISO is a brighter image, but possibly more grain or noise. So most people start their ISOs at like 100 or 200 if it's a good light. And if it's a bright light outside, I even go down to like nothing. You're going to bump it up in low light situations, especially if you're shooting a reception or something indoors. You don't want to overdo it though, because that's when you start to get that really gritty vibe. So if you put it all together, here's the trick to the exposure triangle. It's all about balance. Literally, it's all about balance. You change one, you got to change the other things. If you want to shoot with a fast shutter, like to freeze motion because someone is running around or they're dancing or it's something amazing that you want to capture in motion, you'll need a wider aperture and a higher ISO or an external light source to give you more light. If you want a super blurry background with a wide aperture, You might need a higher or a faster shutter speed to avoid overexposing, because otherwise it might be like just way too bright. It's like a seesaw. You adjust one side, the others have to keep the balance. The more you practice and the more you work with your camera body, the more you're going to understand where your exposure triangle is supposed to be. So now we're at the point where I'm giving you homework. I'm giving you homework not only because it's fun, I promise, but you need to do it in order to get used to your camera. So I want you to set your camera to manual mode. Again, I want you to pick one object, your kid, your dog, your coffee mug, whatever it is. Take 3 photos. And I want you to change just one setting each time. The first time, play with the shutter. The second time, play with the aperture. And the third time, just play with the ISO. Look at how each change of those things affects your image. And that's how you learn. And of course, if you practice, and you get bonus points if you go to Instagram and you tag me at Photog Boss so I can hype you up in the comments. Keep shooting, keep learning, and keep creating. This is Frame by Frame with Photog Boss, and I swear you are killing it already. See you in the next episode.